What is up, guys? EJ here, aka PuckBond007, and welcome to the Movie Reviewers 100, this great collaboration channel on YouTube and Facebook that I'm proud to be a part of. So before I get started, obviously I want to say I'm sorry I haven't been on the channel recently. Been very busy with work and catching up on my Netflix queue. I was behind on a lot of movies that I missed in theaters, but now I'm caught up. And of course, last month had the baseball playoffs. My Giants winning their third title in 5 years. Really exciting, especially last week. So it's a good time to be a Giants fan. That was a lot of fun. But hopefully now I'll be back to doing more regular reviews, especially on this channel. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a video. But anyway, so this week is Courtroom Trial Week, or Courtroom Drama Week. We associate most courtroom films as dramas, but there's lots of comedies as well. The film I'm going to talk about today is sort of a mix of a war film and courtroom film, and that is the Caine Mutiny from 1954, directed by Edward Dmytryk. He's mostly known for doing film noirs in the 40s and 50s, directed a lot of movies. It's based on the Pulitzer Prize winning novel by Herman Wouk, and of course stars the great Humphrey Bogart. Along with him is a great supporting cast: Van Johnson, Jose Ferrer, Fred McMurray, Robert Francis, and May Wynn. The film starts off with Robert Francis's character. He plays a young officer fresh out of the Naval Academy. Ensign Willie Keith is his name, and he's been assigned to this USS Caine, a sort of decrepit ship that's been in service for like 20 years, and it's it's been converted into a minesweeper out in the Pacific. And early on in the film, we learn there's going to be a new captain, and this new captain is of course played by Humphrey Bogart, named Philip Francis Queeg. And he's a stickler for discipline. The ship's been in disarray. All the crew sort of do their own thing, and nobody makes many waves about doing things by the rules. But Captain Queeg, he's there to change all that, including telling all the guys to tuck their shirts in, get regulation haircuts, and so on. So this sort of and his decisions start to be questioned very early on by his lower officers. Van Johnson plays Lieutenant Steve Merrick. He's the executive officer, the second in command, and Fred McMurray plays Tom Kiefer, Lieutenant Tom Kiefer. He's also one of the officers. And officers, I can't talk tonight. Anyway, so they start to question Humphrey Bogart, and he does a few things wrong. There's this sort of target drill where their ship tugs something behind it so other battleships can destroy the hell out of it, and something goes wrong with that. And then there's also a scene later on where they're part of an invasion on one of the Pacific Islands against the Japanese, and their ship is escorting the men who land on the beach in those little boats, and then they go too far ahead of them and almost crash into some guys on a boat, and they start to question the captain for his decisions during that. And then the final straw is on their way back home to Pearl Harbor. The ship runs into a typhoon, and it almost capsizes, and that's when, at that point, when Van Johnson relieves Captain Queeg of his command. And then later on, a couple years after the war, is when we have the courtroom part of the film, where Van Johnson and Willie Keith, Robert Francis's character, are on trial for a mutiny, because it's been deemed that even though the ship was almost lost at sea, it's been deemed by doctors that Bogart Bogart's character is not insane. He's not crazy. He's just very paranoid, which becomes very apparent, especially during this great court-martial scene at the end of the film, and that's where the courtroom part of this review comes in. Is my camera even working? I can't tell anymore. I had a problem with it earlier. Alright. So yeah, it's a really good film. Great performance by Bogart. The reason why I like this film so much is because it's so different from other Bogey performances. I mean, we're used to seeing him as sort of the tough, smooth-talking guy in gangster pictures, in films like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon, The Big Sleep. He always seems to have it so together in those movies. But in this film, he's really not very likable at all. All the crew hate him. All the officers don't like him. They don't like anything he does, and he's very vulnerable in this movie. He's, like I said, paranoid and not quite sure of himself, and that comes up during the trial. Yeah, his testimony during the trial is really, after he sort of goes off the deep end about, there's this whole bit where some strawberries get delivered to the ship, and they all have dessert with some strawberries, but then some strawberries go missing, and he spends like half the time tearing up the ship looking for these lost strawberries, and that's sort of the whole point of why he sort of went crazy off the deep end, as it were, in command of this ship. Yeah, I picked it because this weekend, of course, is Remembrance Weekend in the UK, and of course Monday is Veterans Day here in the US, and I love movies about war, and especially World War II, so it's a good time to pick and watch this movie, and that is the Caine Mutiny, my pick for Courtroom Trial Week. Also, the film stars Lee Marvin, the very young Lee Marvin. He plays one of the crew members. I love his name. His name is Meatball, and there's also there's one woman in the film, and that's played by May Wynn, who's a singer, I believe, or was a singer back then. She plays the girlfriend of Robert Francis. Jose Ferrer, he plays the attorney, the military lawyer who's defending Van Johnson during the trial. He's really good as well, and he's in the film like 10-15 minutes at the most. Yeah, it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. If you love Bogart and war movies, courtroom movies, definitely worth checking out. So that is my pick for this week. Make sure you check out the guys' videos this week. Hopefully we will be getting some videos, because it's been kind of bare recently on this channel, and I'm partly to blame for that, obviously. So yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see ya.
Bond. James Bond.